Hey, wrestling fans, welcome back to the most interactive wrestling show on the interweb. Welcome to Wrestling with Omer. We have so much to talk about today. And again, this show, the way it works is you put in the chat, you leave a super chat, you leave a regular chat, whatever it is, whatever I get to first, we're going to talk about it. The only big topic that I do want to start off talking about today is AEW. And kind of an update on where AEW stands. I see we got Cincy Edits in the chat. We got MGT in the chat. By the way, guys, if you're watching, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to that notification bell. If you're listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, which we are officially up on, thank God, be sure to leave a 5-star review and hit that follow button as well, and share it with your friends who love wrestling or don't and just like to hear the soothing sound of my voice. So, big things to talk about on the AEW front. This week, the Warner Brothers and Discovery deal, the Warner Brothers Discovery merger really came to fruition in the way that everyone kind of thought it would. I think the merger actually happened back in like April, May or something like that. But the effects of it are starting to take place. Now that the quarterly earnings calls have just happened and Discovery is seeing, we might be on a tight budget after this merger. We might be on a tight budget after putting a boatload of money into this merger with Warner Brothers. Now the time has come to think about what can we cut to kind of make up and recoup some of this loss? And how can we, Discovery, build our brand into something bigger using this merger with Warner Brothers? That's essentially what's happening. And one of the pitfalls of this is that a lot of Warner Brothers shows, movies, and other projects are getting canned because of Discovery. We already know that Batgirl, which a lot of people were looking forward to, the movie Batgirl, has been canned. $90 million project in the bucket, done. We know that there are several TNT shows, TNT original shows, that are going to be canceled because of budget cuts, the proverbial budget cuts, from Discovery. And we know that Discovery is likely going to change the entire vibe, for lack of a better term, of TNT and TBS to be more in line with what the kind of content that they produce, which is a lot of reality content. We know Discovery, they love themselves some good old fishing shows and things of that nature. So look for more of that kind of content out there. As far as where this leaves AEW, by the way, I have a lot of thoughts about the future of HBO Max and things like that as well, which I might talk about on another channel. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, too sweet. But leaving it just for wrestling, AEW is a show that has built AEW Dynamite, I should say, is a show that has built a reputation as being a ratings draw for TNT and now TBS. They are more often than not the number one show on Wednesday night in that time slot. They are more often than not, even with the NBA or the NFL, whatever it is, preempting them. They are still one of the highest rated shows. And on top of that, they're not that expensive to produce. And I'll talk about the numbers and where AEW fits into this in a little bit. Do want to get to some of your chats here. MGT is here, like I said earlier. Surf Wrestling is also here. It says, rumor has it that Amazon Prime could buy AEW and ROH. I don't think. Here's the thing. I don't think anyone's going to buy anything. I think they will likely. I think the rights of streaming Dynamite, the rights of showing Dynamite on your channel or your platform, whatever it is probably going to be the thing that is going to happen. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. Don't worry. MGT says, I heard about that. Surf Wrestling says, Batgirl is a huge letdown. Batgirl fits perfectly with the CW network. Nobody cares about those outdoor shows. Well, that makes two of us. Since he jokes that another channel and still no Toon Talk. Well, maybe they're related, Cincy. Guys, if you're just joining us, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and the notification bell. Surf Wrestling rounds us off by saying, people always have asked why Stars isn't with HBO Max because Stars have their own company business with Showtime. That's one of the potential people we're going to talk about. So, like I was saying, one of the big questions with this whole Discovery Warner Brothers merger is how is it going to affect wrestling? How is it going to affect AEW? How is it going to affect the way that the new executives of this company are going to view wrestling? Now, it's worth to note that Tony Khan made it pretty clear that he was doing everything he could to court the new Discovery's executives throughout this merger. We know that back when Dynamite was in LA, he had a bunch of executives there in person to watch the show. They had this big after party. They had these big set of meetings to discuss AEW's future with the company. And it looks like, from all the indications, those went pretty well. And here's the thing. While I don't believe that AEW is going to get canceled, outright canceled, I don't think Dynamite, at least, is going to get outright canceled. I think two things are now come into great question. Number one, the value of AEW's next contract. And I mean their television rights deal. Because right now, I believe they're sitting on a $300 million deal, not per year, but a $300 million, I think it was a 5-year deal, that is set to end at the end of next year. And they were looking originally to have something, I believe, had this merger not taken place, they were looking for somewhere around, I think, between $75 to $100 million per year for a new contract, for a new television rights deal. Given the way that Discovery, Warner Brothers is currently constructed and their budgetary constrictions, I don't think that's going to happen. I think especially considering Discovery kind of are already in a weird place with money after this merger, where they're kind of being forced to cut all these programs. They're being forced to cut all these ventures, cut all these projects. They're going to try to merge HBO Max with Discovery Plus, which is going to be a gosh darn nightmare for everybody. But the big thing is, I think, so Discovery now being forced to kind of take on some of to take on Warner Brothers' big properties, being forced to take on the NBA is probably their biggest thing. Like, they kind of have to keep that on because that is the lifeblood of TNT. Like, that, they make no bones about it. The NBA on TNT, without that, TNT is nothing, quite frankly. You don't have the same amount of people tuning in. You don't have the same amount of revenue coming in either from commercials. That's just the gosh darn truth. So, given that, they have to keep that, and that is going to put them severely over their budget, because Discovery, usually the max they're trying to spend on the show is somewhere around $500,000 per hour. So it's somewhere around, like, maximum is $500,000 per hour for other shows. And with that with the NBA already being as expensive as it is, just shattering that number by a lot, they're going to try to cut corners as much as they can. So if you're AEW, you're in a weird position because AEW costs somewhere around the $350,000 to $400,000 per hour range to produce. This is according to Dave Meltzer. So I know I'm using a lot of numbers here, guys, but hear me out. But given that, they're already in a weird position where, yes, you're a top-rated show. Yes, you're right around budget. Does that mean we're going to be paying you any more than you're already being paid? Probably not if you're Discovery Plus. If you're Discovery, is AEW going to get a slight bump in their next television rights deal? Sure. Is it going to be the bump that everyone expected? I doubt it. Is it going to be the bump that Tony Khan probably expected when he got that original deal or at least this time last year? Definitely not. Because there were talks about AEW getting a deal that was not at the level of Monday Night Raw and USA Network, but right in that ballpark as far as being in that conversation, like as the max, right? That's out the window at this point, at least with Discovery. Surf Wrestling in the chat says, in my opinion, they should put the NBA on ABC and only football and hockey. Surf Wrestling also says, isn't TNT and TBS owned by Discovery Warner Media? Yep, they are. They are both owned by Discovery and Warner Media. Surf Wrestling says, how would it affect TBS and TNT if Discovery Warner Media don't want AEW? They'd just be kicked off the show or kicked off the channels. If it's going to come down to this, at the end of the day, it is going to come down to if anyone else wants AEW. If anyone else wants AEW, then the likelihood of them signing with Warner or Discovery Plus, whatever you want to call it, I'll call them Discovery just for simplicity's sake. If they get another offer on the table, whether it be from ESPN, who is a potential suitor. We've seen how ESPN, especially with UFC, has been able to really take advantage of putting out that content, whether it be on ESPN Plus or wherever, right? I don't think that AEW would get a deal where they're going to be the flagship on Wednesday nights on ESPN 1, like the big ESPN channel. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen for multiple reasons. One, because they're going to be preempted by a lot of nonsense. They're also going to be preempted by the NBA during the season. It's not going to work out, right? It's just not going to work out. But could I see a future where AEW gets comparable money to Raw? Like not as much, but comparable money to Raw, by signing a deal to be featured on ESPN Plus. Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, I really do think that's the future of television and everything in general. At some point, we are going to move away from things being on channels and just move to things being on these platforms, or a hybrid of the two. I don't think that the future of television is going to be that. And I think AEW getting on a streaming platform full time will actually help them in the long run. Surf Wrestling says, Omer, if that's the case, then Amazon makes the most sense. That's if Amazon wants them, right? That's the issue. Because there's a lot of companies that want viewers, want wrestling. Netflix tried. Or Netflix, I believe, is still trying to start their own wrestling company or start their own wrestling venture or something like that. The issue with that is they're not going to get an AEW. They're never going to get a WWE because they just do not have the cash on hand to make that work right now. And you're seeing that issue with a lot of streaming companies. Now you're seeing it with Netflix. You're seeing it with HBO Max now because of the Discovery deal. You're going to see it in a little bit probably with Amazon at the end of the day. These companies, these studios, are going to are spending a lot of money. Amazon just spent a boatload of money just poaching away Thursday Night Football from the NFL or from NFL Network or Fox or whoever had it before. So can they afford it? I absolutely, they're Amazon, but do they have the budget for it? Here's the thing: we think of Amazon as this big company, right? That can afford anything, which it can. It can afford anything, other than paying its own taxes. But I digress. But they can afford anything, but they still have different departments, right? They have different departments that have different budgets. And I have not read into Amazon, like Amazon Prime or whatever's budget or whatever. I don't know. But one thing I do know is, are they in a position, do I think that they are in a position right now to bid for AEW? I'm not sure. Could they be in a year? Again, end of 2023. That is when the deal is up. Will they be in a position by then? Who knows? Because they're going to be paying a boatload of money. That cash is going to, the chickens are going to come home to roost at the end of the day. That cash is going to leave Amazon. And they're going to have their hands in a bunch of different pots, creating a bunch of different content. Do they really want wrestling? Do they really want this program? We'll see. Now, again, I'm not saying that's not true, but I think ESPN Plus, especially after UFC, right? Here's the reason why I keep saying ESPN makes the most sense, in my opinion. I think that ESPN makes the most sense because they already have a little bit of a history now with combat sports ever since they introduced the UFC and this partnership they have with them. I think that ESPN Plus is a great place for AEW to be. It'll help ESPN get some subscriptions up. It will, I think, cement AEW as a serious, not just serious wrestling show, but a serious show in general, because you know damn well that ESPN is going to plug the ever-living shit out of AEW everywhere. Every single game, all of it, right? So, I'm telling you, watch out for that one. Again, we got 2 years, but watch out for it. MGT in the chat says, Omer, do you want me to tell you why NXT pay-per-view is going to happen in the same date as AEW All Out? I do think, what is it? It's not Clash of the Champions. What is it? No, Clash of the Castles, the WWE pay-per-view. But I don't remember the name of it, but I do know it's happening the same day, which is an interesting choice. I mean, not necessarily a bad one if you're WWE, because they kind of know that they kind of know what NXT is, honestly, and they know what they know what it is. So I don't. I mean, again, if there are strategies to kind of hit AEW's numbers a little bit and have those numbers take a hit, then sure. But at the end of the day, that I don't think that the strategy is going to work out. I think AEW is going to always get like somewhere around that $100,000 buys, especially for a big show like All Out. If they book it as like that, they're always going to have like basically a sellout in Chicago. Like, it's a great market for them. So I think it's just it's kind of like when they ran that Evolve show on the same day as Fight for the Fallen in 2019. It's mostly out of pettiness, but wrestling is petty. Surf Wrestling says, yeah, but Disney Plus owns ESPN Plus on the other site. Yeah, I mean, most of these companies own each other. At the end of the day, there's only like two other places to go, and three other places to go, and WWE has partnerships with the other two. Surf Wrestling says, ain't no way Peacock would get AEW. Nah, that's not happening. I'll tell you that right now. Like they are locked in and loaded and with WWE. They are not getting AEW. Although if they did, imagine if they did though. Imagine if they did. The chaos that would ensue. Surf Wrestling says, Omer, Amazon Prime Sport YouTube channel have almost 500,000. Yeah, again, here's my thing, right? My worry with Amazon is not that they can't afford it, and it's not that it wouldn't work on Amazon. My issue is looking at Amazon as a company like 2 years down the line and think, like, they are spending a lot of money right now. Like usually, here's what happens with these companies, guys. These companies go on, like, a binge for a few years where they just spend and spend and spend. They produce expensive content, expensive show after expensive show. And Netflix did it longer than anyone. Netflix literally did it for almost 10 years before the chickens came home to roost for that one. But Amazon has been doing that for a while now, for a solid, like, almost 5 years. I'll say 4 years now. And I think like by the end of 2023, they're probably going to be in a cycle where they're not necessarily going to, while it would be nice to have AEW, it's not a necessity that, oh, we need to be part of this bidding, like, right now, you know? That's why I'm not as high on Amazon being the most likely destination. Again, I think ESPN is. I still don't think that AEW's contract is going to be as big, though, as it probably should be, considering the fact that Discovery's probably not going to pay them as much as they want. And that's going to hurt them as far as how much ESPN is going to pay. Because ESPN can say, okay, we're going to pay you a little bit more. But we'll see. Cincy in the chat says, imagine Fox somehow got AEW. Again, anarchy. It would just be anarchy if Fox got AEW. It would be interesting, though, wouldn't it? If Fox just like said, one of these shows should work out. Surf says, you think Being Sport would try to get AEW because they have MLW? What is Being Sports like viewership or Buying Sports, whatever it is? Yeah. Not seeing it. So their American channel here, I'm looking it up. How many homes are they in? That's my question. How many homes are they in? I don't know. It's not telling me, but definitely not as many. The exposure would be way more if they got on a streaming platform, though. I'll tell you that. Surf Wrestling says, Cincy. No, bro. That would be insane. It would be insane. 100% insane. MGT says, obviously AEW is going to get the most numbers, but Triple H is just doing that just to hurt AEW because Hunter hasn't forgotten about the Wednesday Night War. Here's my thing about the Wednesday Night War. By the way, guys, if you're listening, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Be sure, if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening to this today, to leave a 5-star review and hit that follow button. So, as far as Hunter and the Wednesday Night War, excuse me, I gotta take a sip of water. Stay hydrated, my friends. Anyway, so as far as Hunter being, still salty about the Wednesday Night Wars, do I think that's going to play a factor into this? Or do I think that necessarily played a factor into this? No, this was part of the plan anyway before Vince McMahon retired. Like, the decision was already made, the date was already set, it was going to happen. So I don't think Hunter or his saltiness as far as the Wednesday Night War necessarily plays a part into it. Side note, do I think that part of Triple H is upset that he lost the Wednesday Night War? I think so. And who wouldn't be, right? Who wouldn't be? Triple H is a competitor just like anyone else. He would be mad. Of course he's going to be upset about losing the Wednesday Night War. He should be. And that's not taking away from NXT. NXT was a great show. Don't get me wrong. Don't get it twisted. NXT was a great show on Wednesday nights for the vast majority of the Wednesday Night War. The only issue was, like a lot of wrestling fans, watch AEW live and then would usually watch NXT the day after or something. Because NXT was a great show and you wanted to watch it, but not as much as you want to watch AEW. And that was it. That's what it came down to. Surf Wrestling in the chat says, what if Triple H paid Discovery Warner Media to take out AEW? Yeah, that's not a financially beneficial situation there for anyone, I think. Because Discovery's already paying AEW. They have a clear-cut contract. And then I don't know why WWE would give up money. Surf Wrestling says, I can see Triple H and Tony Khan coming up with some kind of huge storyline of Khan saying Hunter got him out of Discovery Warner Media. I mean, look, I will say this. We are, with Vince out of the way, we are significantly closer to collaboration with AEW and WWE than I think we ever have been. MGT in the chat says, Hunter can easily put NXT in a different date, but he hasn't, and I dig it. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Here's the thing we forget, right? They already booked the arena for that date. Like, it's not easy, guys, it's not easy to unbook an arena for a different date. Because a lot of these arenas, they take time in advance. And I don't know what the NXT arena is that they're running here. I'll look it up. Because can someone drop the name of the NXT pay-per-view? Because I don't know what it is. But if someone could drop the name of the NXT pay-per-view that's coming up, that would be a big help to me as I do this show. But usually these arenas, they take bookings in advance because they usually have to because they have multiple shows or multiple events going on. So given that, the logistics might just not have worked out for them to do that. MGT says, Omer, are you going to watch SmackDown? Am I going to watch it tonight? I don't know. Am I going to watch it eventually? Yes. Eventually, yes. I don't know if I'm going to watch it tonight. But do you guys want me to watch it tonight? Let me know in the chat. Hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I'm always a shill, aren't I? MGT says, oh, sorry. Eddie Guerrero's in the chat. Viva la raza. What's up, Eddie? Surf Wrestling says, you know what? I'm going to be real, Omer. Fox going to buy AEW. I just have this odd feeling. So here's the thing. Fox and WWE have a deal. And I'm pretty sure part of that deal is that like no other wrestling channel or no other wrestling can be shown on their channel. Here, I'll see. So it was a this is interesting. So Fox signed a 5-year agreement in June of 2018. Interesting. 5-year agreement, June of 2018, that went into effect, I should say, of October of 2019. Okay, that makes sense. So basically, interesting. Okay, I got it now. I've read the details, quote unquote. Anyway, so this deal it's a 5-year deal starting essentially in October 2019. 5 years of being on Fox for WWE, $200 million per year, amounts to about $1 billion. And the contract's going to be up in October of 2024. So I don't think the timeline is going to really match up when AEW is going to be up. MDT says, why won't you watch it tonight? I don't know. I'm kind of tired. Just in general, I've been tired. As you can see, like the content has not been coming out. I've just been tired. I'm going to try. Surf Wrestling says, Fox wants WWE, but it ain't been any more news on it for a while. I think the odds are they're going to re-up with Fox, or WWE's either going to re-up with Fox or sign to put SmackDown on USA or NBC or something like that. I don't think that. I don't think that. It's just the timeline doesn't work out for AEW, for Fox. Honestly, the timeline just does not work out because AEW's deal is going to be up like end of 2023. WWE's Fox deal is not going to be over until almost the end of 2024. So, since he says, I'm definitely watching SmackDown tonight, WWE is good again. Is it? What's on the card tonight? Someone tell me. What's on the card? We got, is Roman going to be there? Roman, as Pat McAfee would say, Roman Reigns. It's Nakamura. I will say this, Michael Cole has been a blessing the past few weeks on commentary. So I might. I don't know. MGT in the chat says, but if it was AEW tonight, you'll be watching even if you were tired. I mean, yeah, sure, yes, probably. Although I don't watch Rampage live. People get that misconception.
You don't watch SmackDown live, but you'll watch a Rampage live?
I don't watch Rampage live. Like I usually watch like SmackDown and Rampage the next day, like the next morning or something. Just easier on a Saturday for me, but I don't know. Y'all are really bugging me about this. Surf Wrestling says MGT, he knows Conspiracy Bray YouTube channel. Surf Wrestling says, people really think Banks is coming out tonight. I don't see her until day one happens again. I mean, the thing with Banks is she's going to be at C2E2, right? And I think that's like coming up like soon. But even if it was, I don't think it's going to. She could return. Like it's don't get me wrong, it's possible. It is very well possible she could return. Especially with Triple H and all the stuff that we've been hearing. But I don't know. SRS probably put out a story about that I missed, but it'd be like that. Interesting. Because, like, I remember the only person that I know that has been actually reported on of WWE considering, or not considering, but WWE actually having, like, serious talks about bringing them back was, like, Killer Cross or Karrion Cross, for those of you who used to watch NXT. So, we'll see. Surf Wrestling says, Omer Rollins always watch Monday Night Raw. I have been watching Monday Night Raw, though. I have been watching Monday Night Raw live. This week's Raw, okay. This week's Raw, I made it through 2 hours. And then I watched, like, the rest of it, like, the next day. But that's 2 hours of Raw I got through. I'm sorry. It's hard for me to sit down and watch a weekly wrestling show for more than 2 hours. I'm just saying. It's hard. Eddie Guerrero in the chat says, just a prediction, but AEW is going to be dead by 2026. A lot would have to go wrong. A lot of people would have to make some very bad decisions for that to happen. But I don't know. I don't know. MGT says, Omer, I'm telling you right now, you will go watch SmackDown tonight. I'm hungry, though. We'll see. Maybe. Guys, we have 69 views. Nice. Guys, hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Let me know what you guys want to talk about in the chat. Also, I did want to bring up this one weird thing of amongst all of the Vince McMahon thank yous, like, you know, the thank you Vince stuff that's been going on. One of the things that's been on my mind has been this idea that Vince McMahon somehow saved professional wrestling, or that Vince McMahon made professional wrestling into a juggernaut, or what Vince McMahon has done over the past 20 years has been great for professional wrestling. It's not true. We need to be honest when we're talking about this. Like, genuinely. Because if we're talking about pro wrestling as a whole, right? What Vince McMahon did was not good for pro wrestling as a whole. Because there is this fantasy that and again, this is not me being the cynical WWE.
Oh, you don't like WWE?
Right? This is me being dead ass serious as someone who has followed wrestling and read about wrestling and really gotten into the weeds on some of this stuff. The idea that Vince McMahon saved pro wrestling by consolidating everything under WWE is a lie. Pro wrestling before Vince McMahon was selling out stadiums regionally all the time. WCCW was selling, were having shows, huge shows at Cowboy Stadium. There were shows at Shea Stadium up in the Northeast. There were huge shows all the time before WWE consolidated everything, right? What Vince McMahon did was not good for pro wrestling. It was great for WWE. Vince McMahon did not build pro wrestling into a worldwide juggernaut. He built WWE into a worldwide juggernaut. There is no one man who has done more to put professional wrestling back and essentially try to kill pro wrestling than Vince McMahon. I'm being dead ass serious about this. And it's not me being salty. It's not me trying to rub salt in the wounds or anything like that. It is just something that I have heard over the last number of weeks that I'm honestly pretty fucking sick of. You had multiple big-time regional pro wrestling promotions. You had indie shows that were selling out arenas before Vince McMahon decided, I'm going to buy everything, right? Before he decided to do that. The lies that we have been, like, honestly, the propagandic lies that we've been peddled by WWE throughout the years have stuck. It's made us believe that wrestling before WWE were happening in bingo halls or bars. No, they were happening in Cowboy Stadium. Shows were happening in Shea Stadium. Shows in Florida were selling out baseball stadiums. What happened when Vince McMahon consolidated the territories and ran them out of business wasn't that pro wrestling started becoming bigger and more pro wrestling started being featured in bigger stadiums. No. Vince McMahon's consolidation of pro wrestling is what sent indie wrestling into bars, into backyards, into bingo halls. Like, with Vince McMahon, when you didn't have Vince McMahon, you had multiple companies, small, big, large, of all sizes, flourishing. But one dude's greed, one dude's vision, as they called it, right? They love to call it a vision. He's a visionary, damn it. One dude's vision not only put thousands of people out of work, but it also forced them to bend by his will. We don't know anything other than Vince McMahon's style of pro wrestling for a reason. It's because his wrestling has been what we grew up on. His wrestling has dictated what pro wrestling is. And his wrestling was something that he wasn't even comfortable calling wrestling. That's how far he went to kill pro wrestling. And again, this is not a anti-WWE rant, because look at the good news that we had today out of WWE. The words wrestler, the words wrestling, all those types of words, belt, all that stuff is back. Triple H said, you can say whatever hell you want. You know why? Because we're professional wrestlers. And that's a good thing. It's not the saying that everything WWE does is crap or necessarily bad. But the lies that people propagate about Vince McMahon being this hero for professional wrestling, when there's no person, dead or alive, who did more to destroy it than Vince McMahon, I can't stand it. Because it's just not true. The dude, we talk about, oh my God, pro wrestling was in bingo halls beforehand. He's the one who sent pro wrestling in the bingo halls in the 90s. In the 2000s, the industry was dead outside of WWE. It was dead. There was nothing. The fact that TNA was able to find its way out of obscurity is actually a miracle. That was pure luck on Jeff Jarrett's part. Eddie Guerrero in the chat says, but didn't Vince McMahon's father start the rise of wrestling before he took over? No, wrestling was a thing for decades before. Over 100 years before Vince Sr., professional wrestling was a thing. Abraham Lincoln was a wrestler. Wrestling's been around for a very long time, people. Like, it was mainstream. People grew up on it. That was the thing to do. You go to baseball games, you go to football games, you go to wrestling. And then you know what happened when Vince McMahon, honestly, here's what happened. You know what happened when Vince McMahon, consolidated everything? Because before, you used to have multiple territories running multiple shows all around, right? And what happened when Vince bought it? You had one company who would be doing probably one or two tours. You had WCW, right? But they barely toured. And even when they did, it was sporadic. Because they were a television company. That's how they ran. They were a television company. So, again, history lesson. I know a lot of people are going to grill me for that. Like,
oh my God, you hate WWE.
No, I don't hate WWE. But I hate the idea of trying to praise someone for doing something that he didn't do. Here's the thing. I have my own feelings about Vince McMahon, right? You want to praise him for a segment he did or whatever, or the entertainment that he provided for years. That's whatever, right? Whatever. Not going to hate on that. But if you honestly want to sit there and tell me that this dude is some savior for pro wrestling, come on. We got to be having a real conversation. MGT in the chat says, Omer, do you know a wrestling YouTuber called The Sports Entertainer? I do not, but I'm always interested in learning more. Since he says, Vince kind of killed diverse wrestling to watch. Or Vince kind of killed diverse wrestling to watch. Yep. MGT says, that's why Vince doesn't like mentioning other wrestling companies. He wanted you to think that WWE was the only wrestling company. He didn't even want you to think that WWE was a wrestling company, though. He wanted you to think that WWE was sports entertainment. And by doing that, he turned wrestling, which is something that was actually mainstream beforehand, into something that became a sideshow. People viewed wrestling much differently after that. Milkman C in the chat says, many guys made it global, but probably started with Tootsmont, yes, and Vince's family. Look, here's the thing. Global, it depends on what we're talking about by being global, right? Because you had Gama in India. You had big attractions all worldwide. You had Big Daddy in England. You had Antonio Inoki in Japan. Like I really think, guys, the professional wrestling drew before Vince McMahon globally. I know it's hard to believe, but it's true. It drew globally before Vince McMahon. The thing is, WWE has done such a good job of becoming a global brand and telling people that they are the ones, because WWE is a global brand, right? That means that we're the ones who made wrestling a global brand. No. You know why WWE is a global brand? Obviously because they built it and they spent years like developing those relationships, but because the interest was already there in pro wrestling. It's not like WWE showed people in India what pro wrestling was. It's not like WWE showed people in Japan what pro wrestling was. It's not like they introduced pro wrestling to all of these different regions. The interest has always been there. Cincy in the chat says,
Oh my god, Omer hates WWE.
sure. No, I don't. I mean, but again, people are going to say what they want to. My thing is, stick to the facts. Genuinely, just stick to the facts. I have no problem. I have no problem about people thinking that that WWE is a global brand that has helped. I have no problem with people thinking that that Vince McMahon built WWE into a global brand. Undeniable. Like Cody Rhodes says. It's like ungoddamn deniable. But come on, guys. Come on. And I know I should calm down. It's just pro wrestling. Come on. Like, here's the thing. You see a lot of moronic takes on Twitter. This is how I vent about that, but that's it. I'm not going to go on that rant again. It is what it is. I hope it was at least somewhat informative for the people who did listen. And for the people who didn't,
You're all little smelly marks.
oh, no, just jokes. We love you. MGT says, Omer, you should calm down. I know. It's pro wrestling. Doesn't matter at the end of the day. But hey, you know what? It doesn't matter, but it does. Like, isn't that the weird thing, though? Okay, it's the weird thing about, like, fandom in general, about fans, like, being a fan of something in general. It doesn't matter, but it does. That's the weirdest thing. Crazy, isn't it? But y'all let me know what you guys want to talk about in the chat. Hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Stay hydrated, my friends. Ooh, I just saw a big bolt of lightning. Gonna close that. Yeah, what else was in the news today? I mean, we can talk about Sasha Banks probably returning. I mean, that is a pretty big thing, right? And is it? I don't know. Apparently, people are talking about Sasha Banks possibly returning tonight, which, if true, monster deal for WWE. Monster deal. And it already shows you the difference that not having Vince McMahon in charge is making. Because automatically you're seeing these wrestlers who left on terrible terms with WWE coming back. But I don't know. Would be interesting to see Sasha Banks or Naomi back. I think Naomi's definitely going to come back at some point, but we'll see. Let's see. Let's see what the latest is on this Sasha Banks news. I am actually interested. So, I'm reading this article here from Wrestling Inc. Says, earlier this week it was advertised that Sasha Banks is going to be participating in Team Donald versus Team Ramsey celebrity flag football game being held Friday, August 5th. However, the Rams released an updated version of the roster for the game on Thursday, and Banks' name was no longer listed as part of the team. Interesting. So Sasha Banks was supposed to be part of this celebrity fantasy, or not fantasy football, flag football league, or flag football game, and she's not. Interesting. I mean, could that be a sign of Sasha Banks returning to WWE? Sure. Could it be a sign of Sasha Banks just having better shit to do or other shit to do? Sure. It's interesting, though. MGT says, I think Sasha and Naomi should return in a big way, like a pay-per-view, like Clash at the Castle. Yeah, I think my thing is, if you know that both of them are going to come back, bring them both back and have them be, like, first of all, have them come back with the titles. Like, have them come back with the titles. Just, I don't care what they said. They're stripped out. No, just have them come back, be the champions. It's okay. It's wrestling. Have them come back, be the champions, and have them beat down Bayley's new faction. Like steamroll them. Make a statement that I'm Sasha Banks, I'm Naomi, and we're back. I think that would be a great way. And you could build, honestly, like, I know like this is probably cliche at this point, but I would love to see a War Games match we're on one team. Like imagine this Survivor Series, right? Fantasy booking with me for a while. Survivor Series. You have on one side Sasha Banks, Naomi, Bianca Belair. I don't know if Becky's going to be back by then, but maybe she is. Who knows? If Becky's back by then, put Becky in there. Let's do that. Let's say Becky's back. Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, Sasha Banks, and Naomi on one side, War Games, Survivor Series, and then on the other side, Bayley, what's her name? Io Sky? Io Sky? Io Shirai, y'all know who I'm talking about, but like, what? I don't know. It's Io Sky? Io Sky. I think it's Io Sky. Io Sky, Bayley, Io Sky, Dakota Kai, and insert person, Ronda Rousey. Boom, right there, big time. Ronda Rousey. Let's finish it off. Go home big. That's the match for War Games. If you really want to go down that path. Wait, I wonder, do I still have? Please tell me I still have this. Nope, that was the wrong one. Io Sky. There we go. So it is Io Sky. Not Io Shirai, Io Sky. I get why they want to do that. MGT says, I like the name Io Sky. Man, it's not bad. It's close enough. Here's the thing. It's close enough to Io Shirai for me that it's fine. I'll get used to that. I'm still never going to get used to freaking Gunther. He's a hashtag he is Walter. But yeah, we'll see. Guys, we're heading down the home stretch of this show, though. So get your questions in. Let's have fun these last couple of minutes. Talk wrestling. No more ranting about pro wrestling history and the accuracy of some people's takes on it. I know the wrestling internet world has been interesting this past week with some. Starcast was an interesting time as from what I can see from my 300 level view of all of this. That seemed like an interesting time with what old boy SRS was up to. By the way, F racism. Eddie Guerrero says, but again, Drew is going to lose from the Usos and then Roman wins. Man. Yeah, it's the Clash of the Castle coming up. Look, he can't. He can't, man. Like he can't. They cannot have Drew lose. That's the thing. Like, it is at that point. I mean, the only redemption there is Cody wins the Rumble and is the one to beat Roman Reigns, or like someone like Gunther. Oh, damn it! I did it again. But someone like Walter. No, I can't get used to. I cannot get used to the G word. I cannot get used to the G or G name. I can't get used to the G name. Walter. He is Walter. But like someone like Walter wins the Rumble and beats Roman Reigns, or someone like Braun Breaker comes up to the main roster and beats Roman Reigns after winning the Rumble. Well, like one of those three has to be it if it's not Drew at Clash of the Castle. Eddie Guerrero's in the chat says it's just annoying the Usos ruining every wrestler for Roman to win. Yeah, but that's part of the game. It's part of the game. David Hall in the chat says, don't forget Butch changed back to Pete Dunne. Please, someone. Butch. It's Butch. Yeah, look at Butch. He's a good old Arthur Shelby. Oh my God. Butch. Jeez. Oh my gosh, guys. Well, we're having fun here. Let's see what else is in the news. MGT in the chat says, imagine Drew beating Roman, winning the WWE Championship, and theory cashes in successfully. He will get a That would not be major heel heat. That would be dumb. Is what that would be. That's the only thing. That would be dumb, and yeah, that would just be dumb. By the way, Clash at the Castle. When is that set to happen? Clash at the Castle. That is going to happen September 3rd. Ooh, where am I going to be September 3rd? That's a great question. Oh, it's going to be at like 1 p.m. on September 3rd, isn't it? I might not be able to do like a stream for that. September 3rd, Saturday. Oh, okay, that's a Saturday. Oh, wow, that's like literally the day before All Out. Very interesting. So we might be doing. We'll definitely be doing a stream, but we'll see. We'll see what that ends up being, or what comes of that. That's gonna be an interesting time, isn't it? Guys, this has been an interesting time. Last few minutes here. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. One last thing I will say, because I know I've harped on AEW having their pay-per-view All Out not being in Chicago, which you know kind of pisses me off. By the way, if anyone asks you, All Out is not in Chicago. That is not Chicago. Schaumburg is like almost an hour away from Chicago. That's like saying, for those of you who live in the DMV, that's like saying like, oh yeah, WWE's coming to Baltimore, and then them being in like DC or something. Or if you're like, I don't know. It's like an hour away from Chicago, guys. It's not close, and there's no way to get there through public transportation. It's not a great location for pro wrestling. I mean, the building's fine for pro wrestling, but like Schaumburg, Illinois is not Chicago. That is the point I'm trying to make. Anyway, wow, that was a long way of saying nothing right there. But anyway, my bigger point is that AEW used to do. What I used to love about AEW pay-per-views is that they all used to be on Saturdays, which were awesome because then I'd have my Sunday to do whatever the hell I want. I could stay up late on Saturday night. I could still have stuff to do on Saturday night. Well, whatever, right? But now it's like, oh, they're having your pay-per-view on a Sunday. And I know Labor Day's off, whatever, right? But that's still a Monday. I'm sorry. I don't like it, man. And because they did this at the last pay-per-view, or last few pay-per-views. Like, what was the one? It was Revolution. The Revolution happened on a weekend that was not a long weekend. And I had to wake up for work the next morning, and I was a tired bee. I was really tired, dog. AEW, go back to Saturday pay-per-views. Go head-to-head with... Okay, I get why they're not going head-to-head with Clash at the Castle. That makes sense. Although they wouldn't be going head-to-head with Clash at the Castle, because Clash at the Castle is going to be over by the time All Out starts. Tony Khan, what are you doing? Saturday pay-per-views over Sunday pay-per-views. But guys, this has been fun. Again, it's me, it's Omer Q. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Be sure to follow Real Take Sports on Twitter at Real Take Sports. YouTube.com/Real Take Wrestling for all your wrestling needs. We also have Real Take Sports. YouTube.com/Real Take Sports for all your sports needs. We talk football, basketball, and we're going to be talking about the 2022 Qatar World Cup. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. That's going to be an interesting topic over the next few months. We're getting close to football season, World Cup season, basketball season's starting up too. Me, oh my goodness gracious, great balls of fire. By the way, says MGT, Theory wasn't at Raw because his uncle passed away. Well, I feel bad for his uncle. May his uncle rest in peace. Retweet Eddie Guerrero. Yeah, that sucks. No one should have to go through that. But guys, either way, it's been me. Be happy, be healthy. Hit like, share, subscribe. Be happy, be healthy. Take care of the ones you love. Talk to the ones you love. Tell them you love them. Be happy, be healthy. Keep it real.